Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a pretty massive concept: how to protect your personal and financial sovereignty from a system that is, well, built from the ground up to extract it. We're going to break down the architecture of the traditional legal machine, a system that literally feeds on friction and fees. But more importantly, we're mapping out exactly how you can bypass the whole shebang entirely. So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the symbol of autonomy, look at the legal wealth trap, and explore how the monopoly protects itself. Then we'll get into the practical stuff: Hamburger-Priced trusts, the smart contract frontier, and finally, how to truly reclaim your sovereignty. All right, part one, the symbol of autonomy: unbroken wholeness. I want you to think about this profound visual metaphor. Originally, this yellow background with the purple circle was designed to represent bodily autonomy, a neutral space outside traditional binaries, centered on this unbroken, complete circle. But when we apply it to our financial and legal lives, it is absolutely the perfect illustration of our ultimate goal today: an unfractured whole estate. It's the ultimate visual anchor for personal and financial sovereignty. So, what does keeping this purple circle of wholeness intact actually mean? It means keeping your assets safe, consolidated, and completely untouched by the traditional legal system. It means that when big life transitions hit, whether that's a separation, transferring assets, or passing wealth down to the next generation, you are the one dictating the terms. Not a judge, not a lawyer billing by the hour. True autonomy means absolutely no forced extraction. Moving on to part two, the legal wealth trap: fattening the pig. So how exactly does our circle get fractured in the first place? Well, it really starts with a massive disconnect between our social expectations and legal reality. We're taught to view modern marriage as a lifelong union, right? Until death do us part. But the state? The state treats family law like a financial funnel. With no-fault divorce, the legal framework essentially treats the relationship as a temporary financial contract that can be dissolved unilaterally. And that contract focuses almost entirely on the division of assets, future income, and, crucially, generating legal friction. This brings us to a fascinating point from our source material. Couples are heavily incentivized by the state to build a massive, concentrated pool of capital. Think about tax brackets and joint exemptions. You're encouraged to fatten the pigs, so to speak. But when that relationship ends, or when an estate is passed down, the system forces a transaction. The wealth doesn't just cleanly spilt down the middle. A huge percentage of that fat is permanently redistributed to the state via taxes and to the legal machine through court-approved extractions. In this view, the state acts as the breeder of the wealth, and the legal machine, they act as the butcher. Which brings us to part three, protecting the monopoly, the bar's defenses. Now, you might be wondering, why is this extraction so incredibly hard to avoid? It actually comes down to a concept called tort hygiene. The legal guild actively works to keep all disputes inside their own highly profitable ecosystem, and they fiercely protect this monopoly. You can't just bypass their shops because they aggressively prosecute anyone offering affordable, automated alternatives, labeling it the unauthorized practice of law. On top of that, the whole system is self-regulated. Judges are former lawyers, and the actors facilitating these financially devastating battles have absolute immunity. Most importantly, they actively reject efficiency. If there's a clean, automated process that resolves a dispute instantly, the legal machine fights it. Why? Because ambiguity and prolonged timelines are exactly how they make their money. All right, part four, Hamburger-Priced trusts, standardized protection. Take a look at this number, $15 to $30. That's basically the cost of a premium hamburger combo these days. But amazingly, it is also the true, literal cost of securing your estate. Now, obviously, you can't get a boutique lawyer to draft a trust for the price of a burger, but through standardization, you can bypass the courts entirely and achieve that exact same legal protection completely on your own. By following these exact steps, you can completely disrupt the legal machine's entry fees. First, in many jurisdictions, the legal language for a revocable living trust is already written into state law as a standardized statutory form. You can literally fill it out for $0. Second, to make it legally binding, you just need a standard cheap notary stamp, which is going to run you about $15 to $30. And finally, the ultimate free shortcut: using transfer on death, or TOD designations, directly on your bank and brokerage accounts. These act like mini trusts that bypass probate courts entirely. Put it all together, and you've got a Hamburger-Priced trust that keeps your circle whole and leaves the middleman completely empty-handed. Let's look at part five, the smart contract frontier: decentralized trusts. What if we want to take this autonomy even further into the digital age? Well, smart contracts are the ultimate ideological match here. Traditional trusts, even good ones, still rely on complex laws, and aggressive lawyers can always try to find loopholes to drag you back into court. But decentralized smart contracts, they replace the courtroom entirely. By writing a few lines of code on a blockchain network, you create a flawless contract that says, if X happens, automatically transfer asset Y to person Z. It executes automatically, requires zero judges or middlemen, and costs just a few dollars in network gas fees. It is literally the pinnacle of an unbroken circle of autonomy.
Finally, Part 6, Reclaiming Your Sovereignty, Starving the System.
So we've covered the traps, the structural monopolies, and the specific tools you have to fight back. To protect your unbroken purple circle of autonomy, you absolutely must internalize this one fundamental truth. You have to starve the traditional legal slaughterhouses of their friction entirely. The system wants you disorganized. It wants your assets tangled up so it can charge a fee for every single movement and dispute. But by using statutory forms, cheap notary stamps, TOD designations, and eventually smart contracts, you completely remove the ambiguity. You create a clean, automated process that leaves absolutely nothing for the barbered shave. For those who don't prepare, the legal machine will just keep acting as both the breeder and the butcher. But I hope this explainer has given you the clear blueprint you need to take your power back. So here's the ultimate question you have to ask yourself. Will you continue feeding the legal wealth trap? Or will you start using these accessible tools to protect your own unbroken circle of wholeness? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me today.